Hello everybody. Today I'm going to show you how to adjust the valves on a Ferris FW15 lawnmower with the Honda GXV 390 engine. I bought this mower used, and the first day I took it out and used it, it started surging. It was hard to start when it was hot, and then by the end of the day it had a clattering noise in the front of the engine right by where the valves sit. So I checked the valves, they were way out of spec, tuned them back in, and it runs great now. No surging, no noise. Runs first, starts first pull, everything like it should. So that was definitely my issue. This is probably something you should do once a year, or at least check it once a year. I guess I have to say, I'm going to show you how I do this. If you mess your machine up, it's not my fault. But this is how I've done it, and it's worked good for me. So the first thing you're going to want to do is remove the spark plug, and I've already taken this apart to expedite the process, but the spark plug wire is on here. You just pull this off, set it out to the side, and then you need a 13/16 socket to get on there and remove this spark plug. So you remove your spark plug, set it off to the side, and then there's four 10mm bolts here that you have to remove. So you're going to need a 10mm socket and a little extension. It kind of helps get those off, and then you can remove your pull start, set it off to the side. Okay, now you're ready to take your valve cover off, which is this right here, held on by this 10mm bolt. I like to put rags or paper towels down here to catch the oil, because once you take this off, you're going to lose some oil. So you remove this 10mm and take your valve cover off. Now you're going to want to clean this whole surface on this valve cover, this inner surface right here. Wipe it all down, make sure it's clean before you reinstall it. Set that off to the side, and then that gives you access to your valves. Honda's got a really thick rubber gasket on here that's really nice. You shouldn't have to replace it every time. I didn't replace mine, and I didn't have any oil leaks, but if you put it back together and it leaks oil or something, you might have to replace this gasket right here. These are your valves. The top one's your intake valve, the bottom one's your exhaust valve. What's going on here is this is a lock nut, and which is 10mm, and this 14mm nut behind here is actually what you screw in to tighten or turn it left to loosen the valve. So again, this is the locking nut, and this is the adjustment nut. So what you got to do when you have the engine like this is we're going to spin this clockwise and rotate it and watch the valves move. And you want to get it, right now I have it in top dead center, so when you get it here, both your valves are going to be loose. They're not going to be tight. But as you rotate the engine, you'll be able to watch the valves move. And this might take you a couple rotations to figure out what you're looking for, but you see the exhaust valve start to move. Now I've gone around 180 degrees. Once I keep going, the intake valve is going to move. And I come back, and both of them stop. And they're loose. That's what you want. If you get it to a position where you think they're even, but you grab them and they're tight, that means you're probably 180 degrees out. You need to rotate more to get them to where they're loose, like that, in the middle, resting, like, not opening or closing. So once you're at this stage, you're really close to top dead center, which is when this is the compression stroke, when the piston's at the top of the cylinder. So I use this extension here to stick down in the cylinder like this, and then you'll mark it with your thumb and slowly rotate the engine to get it to where you'll see with your thumb, it'll like push out like the piston's coming up, and then it'll very start to go down. That's when the piston's at the very top. That's what you want. That's when you're going to stop. So I can't hold the phone and do this, but I'm going to set it down real quick and get it set perfect, and then show you how to adjust from there. Okay, again, what I did was I had my extension in there with my thumb on it, and I slowly rotated the engine, and my thumb kept coming out on the extension like the piston's coming up, and then it stops. Right where it stops, that's when the piston's at the top. So now again, the piston's at the top and these are loose. So this is the position that you adjust both valves in. The spec says that the intake valve, the top one closest to the intake, is supposed to be 0.006 thousandths, or 6 thousandths, I guess you would say. This one is supposed to be 8 thousandths. So on your feeler gauge, mine's labeled 0.006, 0.007, 0.008. I have a 9, a 10, you know, most feeler gauges will look like this. So you want to take your 6 for your intake valve, and you stick it right there, and it like slides in tight. So let me try to get it better. Right there, in between where the valve spring touches the rocker arm, that's where you want your feeler gauge. Okay, then I move up to like a 7 and try to put it in there. I've already, like I said, I've already adjusted these. I'm not going to do it again, but this is what you would do. You would put it at a 7 and it doesn't go in there. That means they're perfect. Okay, so this is going to take some adjustment. You might, you know, I'll explain that next, but always check the size you want, and then make sure the next bigger size doesn't go in, and you're on the money. The exhaust valve is 8 thousandths. So again, you'll do the same thing with the 8 thousandths feeler gauge, and you're going to try to get it to there, that perfect position. When you put a 9 thousandths on it, it should not go in. That means you're at the right spot. To adjust these, you use 2 wrenches, a 10 millimeter wrench and a 14 millimeter wrench on the inside. You hold the 14 millimeter wrench and loosen the 10 millimeter wrench. That'll back this locking nut off. Then you can use your fingers and either tighten this or loosen it, however you do it. So once you can stick your feeler gauge in here, your 6 thousandths feeler gauge, and then tighten this, excuse me, tighten this until you feel the resistance. Then hold this with the 14 millimeter wrench and tighten this one with the 10 millimeter wrench to tighten it down. Then check your lash again. Check your 6 thousandths lash or whatever. If sometimes when you do that, it'll get too tight. So then you got to back this off again, loosen it just a little bit, tighten that back up, and then check it again. And then when you get it perfect, 6 on this one, 8 on this one, you're good to go. Then all you have to do is reassemble at this point. Clean your gasket surface, put your valve cover back on, put your spark plug back in with the, you know, your spark plug wire, of course, and then put your pull start back on, and you're good to go. I would check the oil at that point. Mine usually doesn't lose enough to have to add, but I would check the oil because you did lose a little bit. So that's it. That's how you do it. I was trying to keep it short and sweet. If you have any problems with it or need some additional advice or something, just leave something in the comments or something, and I'll try to address your specific issue. But it's really not that hard. Don't be scared of it. You know, it might take you a little bit at first fiddling with it, but you'll get it, and you know, you'll be amazed at how much better your mower runs. So all right, have a good one, guys. Bye.